Good afternoon, and welcome to the session on Teaching the Holocaust through the Art of Survivor Miriam Brysk. I'm Margaret Lincoln, Lakeview Schools District Librarian in Battle Creek, Michigan. Our session focuses on a collaborative project whereby the life and art of Holocaust survivor Miriam Brysk has inspired teachers to design lessons to instruct students about this most tragic event of the 20th century. Lessons from the disciplines of English language arts, social studies, and fine arts will be shared. Dialogue and interaction among participants is welcomed. Time has been set aside for a virtual Q&A through Adobe Connect meeting, linking us with Miriam Brysk in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm pleased to share with you background on the life and art of Miriam Brysk and to provide you with an overview of the materials contributed by 5 educators: Bill Younglove, Cynthia Schofield, Tasha Tillotson, Marta Leroy, and Scott Durham, and of course, most importantly, a look at Miriam Brysk's life and art. First and foremost, the inspiring story of Miriam Brysk. Miriam was born in Warsaw in 1935. Her family survived the 1942 Lita Ghetto massacre and hid among partisans in the Lipichansi forest. A hospital was set up in the forest with Miriam's father as chief of staff. Miriam, who had no formal education, came to the U.S. in 1947, in a short time earning a doctorate in biological sciences from Columbia University. She became a scientist and professor of dermatology, biochemistry, and microbiology at the University of Texas. Here are some pre-war family photographs. The partisan hospital was located on a small remote islet in the worst swamps accessible over floated logs in the Lipichansi forest. Some 3 to 5 operations were performed each day and night. Hundreds of lives were saved. To protect her from rape, Miriam's head was shaved and she was disguised as a boy. She was given her own pistol as a present for her 8th birthday. After the war, Miriam's family escaped to central Poland. They were brought to Italy by soldiers in the Jewish Brigade and then immigrated to America. Here are some more post-war photos of a happier time in Miriam's personal and professional life. Upon retirement in 2002, Miriam returned for the first time to the ghettos and camps of Eastern Europe. Her art career, utilizing original photographs and computer graphics technology, was launched through that trip. Resulting artworks reflect Miriam's life and stories of friends and relatives who perished during the Holocaust. Miriam feels a deep inner need to portray their suffering, to restore to them their dignity as Jews, to honor and remember them. The artwork awaiting her turn is from Miriam's first exhibit, In a Confined Silence. Pictured is a mother and child in Lubny, Ukraine, awaiting her turn to be shot by Nazi Einsatzgruppen, the killing squads. Miriam recounts her own story of the Lita Ghetto massacre when Jews were commanded to assemble and march to an unknown destination. At an intersection of 2 country roads, her family was waved to proceed to the right, which represented death. They were hit with metal rods, forced to run faster to the killing pits. The sound of gunfire was getting louder. Miriam's heart was beating in total fright as she looked up at the ashen and grim faces of her parents, awaiting their imminent death. They almost failed to hear soldiers yelling to them, "Doctor, go back!" Her father's surgical skills were still needed. By the narrowest of margins, Miriam and her family survived that day. During the Nazi roundups, Jews were selected for deportation to the camps. Children were at times forcibly separated from their families and killed separately. Pictured in this additional work from A Confined Silence is a lonely boy, still remembering his mother's smile and their last embrace. The woman and son are cousins of Miriam from Warsaw, who perished in Treblinka. We now are viewing several works from Miriam's second exhibit, Children of the Holocaust, which utilizes photographs of children who perished in the Holocaust. Each photo is framed by a representation of a tallis, or a prayer shawl. The tallis is traditionally given to Jewish children when they turn 13. But the children in Miriam's exhibit never reached age 13. Yet she has given them each a piece of a prayer shawl as a sign of remembrance. Accompanying each work is explanatory text giving the personal details of the child's brief life. The girl in the center of this work was from the Vilna ghetto and was probably murdered in the pits at Ponar by Einsatzgruppen A, the mobile killing squad. Overlaid is a map of the ghetto. Beneath are bodies of Jews who died in Ponar. The Warsaw Ghetto, containing nearly 500,000 Jews, was sealed off in November 1940. Some 5,000 Jews died daily from hunger, exposure, and disease. Massive deportations began in July 1942. The boy in this piece was among Jews from the ghetto assembled at the Umschlagplatz, the transit place, and deported in cattle cars to their deaths in Treblinka. Beneath him are seated Jews awaiting a transport train. Overlaid over him is a map of the ghetto. Miriam's most recent exhibit, Scroll of Remembrance, was just shown at the International Conference of Child Survivors of the Holocaust held in Las Vegas. It is based on the Megillat HaShoah, the Holocaust Scroll, a powerful newer liturgical text that was created in 2003 to be read during observances of Holocaust Remembrance Day. Here is one of Miriam's compilations for the Lodz ghetto. Miriam's memoir, Amidst the Shadows of Trees, recounts her wartime experiences in Poland. The Stones Weep contains her artwork and supporting lesson plans contributed by teachers. We'll now look at materials contributed to the Miriam Brysk Art Lesson Plan project, beginning with Dr. Bill Younglove, United States Holocaust Memorial Museum Teacher Fellow and California State University, a Long Beach faculty member. Bill, who has written the introduction to The Stones Weep, ponders why, amid a choice of more than 30 forms of Holocaust representation, should art be utilized. Bill points out that Miriam herself answered this question best when she wrote in her memoir that for her, art was an outward expression of an inner need that could not be otherwise realized. Bill appreciates how art both imparts information and serves as a most valuable instructional resource in the work of Miriam Brysk. I've been privileged to collaborate with Dr. Cynthia Schofield on Holocaust projects over the years. Her lesson contribution illustrates how Holocaust art can be used to transcend the limitations of language. She describes her involvement in the Miriam Brysk project.
As a longtime English language arts teacher, I have taught a variety of classes. Whenever I've had the occasion to incorporate Holocaust instruction into the curriculum, students seem to genuinely engage with this important content. I am pleased to be able to contribute a lesson to the current volume and to share examples of student work and my reflections about the project. We hope that others can similarly connect with and learn from the powerful art and life story of Miriam Brysk. This lesson combines the reading of Night by Elie Wiesel and the viewing of several film clips and documentaries, along with a study of Holocaust art. Students will prepare for their reading of Night by means of Wiesel's interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2000. In this interview, Wiesel discusses the difficulty of finding words to express his experience. His first manuscript was 800 pages. He revised it to a little over 100 pages. He states, "How can one retell what escapes language?" The teacher will use the interview and focus on the challenge of testifying and remembering one's story and the stories of others through language. Students will next be introduced to the artwork of Miriam Brysk, complete critical reflection sheets, compose 6-word stories, and create PowerPoint presentations.
Cynthia's lesson, calling upon students to engage in close and critical reading, supports Common Core. Students are provided with 4 guiding questions as they read close and critically. Miriam's artwork, Their Last Embrace, from In a Confined Silence, figures prominently in Cynthia Schofield's lesson. She uses this image to model for students how to respond to the close and critical reading question 4. Students, in turn, respond to the 4th close and critical reading question, so what? And in a supplemental activity for this lesson, students are challenged to create a presentation justifying inclusion of a Holocaust artwork for a new wing coming to Battle Creek's Art Center, and that wing is titled Man's Need to Testify, Remember, and Transcend Language. Tasha Tillotson contributed 2 excellent lessons appropriate for regular and ELL students.
My start in Holocaust education began in 2001 when I attended a conference at UC Berkeley put on by the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. After more conferences and participation in the Vladka Mead Jewish Resistance Teachers Program, I received the USHMM Museum Teacher Fellowship in 2007. Most recently, I was asked to join their Regional Education Corps in 2010, providing me the opportunity to speak at conferences throughout the United States. My training and experience with the museum has made me not just a better Holocaust teacher, but a better teacher overall. Having taught primarily English language learner students for the past 5 years, I look for opportunities to integrate art into most of my lessons. It has been my experience that art is the best avenue to approach difficult subjects with the students I teach. In 2009, I traveled to Poland with 9 other teachers from across the United States. We had the opportunity to meet 10 Polish teachers and share some of the things we teach within our Holocaust units. I presented the first lesson and was greeted with a warm reception from the Polish teachers. Unanimously, they agreed to use this lesson with their own classrooms. Miriam Brysk's artwork and her incredible history, as told through In a Confined Silence, have helped students make connections to an unbelievably difficult subject. Writing and reflection came effortlessly for my students when they were given the opportunity to view Miriam's pieces of art. I have since created follow-up lessons using children of the Holocaust. These lessons have become my most powerful instructional resources during my Holocaust unit, and I am pleased to share these materials with colleagues.
For the lesson, In a Confined Silence, Art Gives Voice, students view Miriam Brysk's artwork and analyze various poems with their larger historical and social contexts. Students examine how an artist's perspective, purpose, and audience can affect his or her artwork. Students also create original poetry and present their work in a celebration of spoken word. This student writing was inspired by Miriam's artwork Shattered Childhood, based on a photograph of Miriam taken in August 1939, just prior to the outbreak of the war. The indistinct lines with no boundaries foreshadow the chaos to come. In Tasha Tillotson's lesson, The Plight of Jewish Children During the Holocaust, students explore the writings of several teenagers during the Holocaust. The words and thoughts of the Holocaust diarists, juxtaposed with the artwork of Miriam Brysk, readily connect to the lives of youth today. Marta Leroy, now retired, was a highly respected art and history teacher at Lakeview High School. Marta often invited Miriam Brysk into her classroom to speak to students who were genuinely moved by emotions contained in Miriam's imagery and intrigued by the digital tools used to create the art. On a personal level, Marta believed art could serve as a memorial and historical witness to brutality, transforming and informing an audience. Marta saw Miriam's artwork as a testimony to loss and sorrow. The images transfix the moment, focusing the viewer's attention on a history that must not be repeated. Marta developed the lesson A Personal Journey for a printing and graphic design elective art course at Lakeview High School. Students created a visually interesting composition, images, and text in response to a difficult personal or global problem. The lesson was introduced by means of a teacher PowerPoint presentation titled Turn Your Wounds into Wisdom, offering instruction and examples of student work. An in-class discussion and analysis of the artwork of Miriam Brysk served as a basis for students' selection of their own project ideas. Students were given prompts and encouraged to think about difficult moments in their lives. How did they get by? What did they learn about themselves? Students came to see art as a way to illustrate painful experiences and to reveal the ragged truth about overcoming adversity in life while still finding the joy. We were proud of Lakeview students and their works created in response to the art of Miriam Brysk. At Lakeview High School, my social studies colleague Scott Durham developed a series of 3 lessons on bystanders, resistance, and perpetrators. I then created a Moodle-based version of Scott's lessons, customized for delivery on an iPad. Students analyzed artworks and other primary source documents in much greater detail, zooming in and out and scanning to any part of an image. For each Moodle lesson, students viewed Miriam's artwork and responded to a writing prompt. This functionality worked well on mobile devices as well as on a regular computer or laptop. In another activity, of each of these art exploration and historical background lesson components on Moodle, students accessed supplemental resources from the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, and they inputted their responses right onto the Moodle site. A Moodle discussion forum allowed for synchronous or asynchronous discussion. Here students responded to prompts about the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. Miriam's artwork included the face of her cousin, Sarah Rosenboom, who was a gun runner and died fighting. After completing the 3 Moodle-based lessons on the iPad, students contributed their own chapter to a ebook linking photographs and images from their own lives to the art of Miriam Brysk, and they connected the lessons of the Holocaust to the world today. I too gave an example from personal experience. The first time I viewed Miriam Brysk's Their Last Embrace, I was immediately drawn to the artwork. The young boy in the picture had a certain likeness to my son Benjamin. Fortunately, my son was never torn away from me, and I have proudly seen him grow to adulthood. I shared a photograph taken when our 3 children, Jeffrey, Benjamin, and Ruth, were 13, 11, and 2 years old. The occasion was Jeffrey's bar mitzvah. A boy who becomes a bar mitzvah will be called upon to read from the Torah during a Sabbath service. The bar mitzvah is a celebration of religion, family, and learning in Judaism. The embrace among our children in this photograph is an affirmation of the survival of Jewish life years after the Holocaust. Lakeview High School students created some very meaningful chapters for the ebook project. A Burmese student connected an identity card from Myanmar with Miriam's artwork, Stamps of Oppression. The student then related a harrowing ordeal of standing in line to obtain documents necessary for immigrating to the United States. Michigan's REMC, Regional Education Media Center Association, has a Connected Educator Series project underway whereby teachers can access videos about effective instructional technology right on their desktop. My work with Scott Durham and the Miriam Brysk iPad project was mentioned in a recent addition to this video series.
So as I've done these Connected Educator Series showcase, I've found that sometimes it's really easy for me to forget that this really isn't about the technology. When we get down to this really has to be about learning. So this showcase that you're going to see today is a little bit different than ones that we've done in the past, but it's by far one of my most favorite.
Hello, this is Margaret Gigi Lincoln. I'm a longtime school librarian with the Lakeview District. In fact, I've been at this job for 39 years. I've been fortunate to collaborate with some outstanding educators. Together, we've developed innovative ideas for library research assignments and have co-taught lessons infused with technology. Yet one particular cooperative relationship of the past 12 years has positively impacted the instructional program while allowing me to grow professionally. The opportunity to work with Lakeview High School's social studies teacher Scott Durham is a 21st century collaborative success story. Through the next series of slides, we'll focus on projects involving the Library of Congress, the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, Gerda Weissman Klein, the Jim Crow Museum of Racist Memorabilia, and we'll also speak about an iPad unit.
Our most recent project deals with the iPad, and it was a fun thing to do. Gigi and I piloted a series of 3 lessons titled Holocaust Art and Remembrance for my World of War class. The lessons used the work of Holocaust survivor, artist who's based in Ann Arbor here in Michigan, Miriam Brysk is her name, and we considered the themes of acting as bystanders, resistance, and perpetrators in this project. As the final project with this iPad unit, students were asked to pick an example of Miriam Brysk's artwork that they seemed to have some sort of personal connection with. We then asked them to explain what made them feel connected, and then we asked them to go home, go through their photographs, go through their own artifacts of their own lives, and see if there's something from their lives that they had that same connection with. So then we had them bring all this together, and we wrote an ebook. We used EPUB Hub. No, I don't even know what it's called. It's an ebook, anyways, and so every student wrote a different chapter where they had the piece of artwork from Miriam Brysk, their explanation, their own artifact or their own photograph, and their explanation. They made that connection between the two.
And to launch that project, I shared my own example with Scott's World at War students, again giving an example of Miriam's artwork and connecting it to a photograph of my own children.
It's been quite a journey that we've had together, but I think what's worked immensely is that we think we both recognize each other's strengths and weaknesses, and we can play off those. I think too often, especially being stuck in a social studies department, and I love my colleagues, but we all have the same strengths and weaknesses, and so I think as you begin to expand your collaborative circle, you can accomplish more and more. And I think once we started doing this, it was kind of crazy. Once we started bringing exhibits and things, as soon as it got done, we were thinking, what else can we do? What's the next thing that we can accomplish?
So in the time since I first met Scott and Gigi, this entire project has just exploded. Not only do Scott and Gigi have all 3 of these World at War courses available on Michigan Learns Online, but Scott is also taking part in a new adventure over in Europe directly because of this project. For details on what's going on, be sure to visit his blog. And as always, we hope this sparks some great ideas for how you could tweak this to work in your own situation. And we'll see you back here next time.
Again, bringing this project full circle, Lakeview High School Library received a Citation of Excellence in the State Librarian's Excellent Award last month in Lansing. I was pleased that Miriam Brysk could attend along with Scott Durham. Now, let's talk to Miriam in Ann Arbor, Michigan through Adobe Connect meeting. Thank you for your participation. We look forward to hearing about your efforts to integrate art into Holocaust instruction. Together, may we be inspired to make a positive difference in the lives of our students.